Hi, Lydia. That's great.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. And just to remind you, we are Pan-African Tech Foundation, West African Bootcamp. And our theme for the West Africa today, digital transformation and the adaptation of emerging technologies in the West Africa. And I'm your host today. My name is Lydia Charles Moyo. My co-host is here, Tete. Say hi. Yes. All right. We've had quite a number of sessions. We had our first session, which was around introduction to blockchain and its use cases. But our second session was around introduction to artificial intelligence and its use cases in West Africa. And now we are going to a more interesting session, something that I'm very passionate about because I think this is a game changer for a problem of employment in Africa at large. I mean, we need to create more employment opportunities. And how do we do that? It's what this session is all about. So if you're already an entrepreneur, there's more knowledge to get. And if you haven't started, I think you will start. And our presenter is going to be Ibrahim Bashir. He's the founder of Dilal. So a brief about Ibrahim. He's a business development expert. So in 2018 and 2019, he oversaw the expansion of technology incubator initiative for a Nigerian government enterprise, where more than 50 startups have been incubated since inception in 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to welcome Ibrahim for your presentation, and you're going to have 10 minutes conversation with one person and 10 minutes with another person. I'll come back to introduce them on stage, but for now, you're welcome.
Okay, so hello, thank you very much. I hope you can all hear me. Everyone can thumbs up if you can hear me. We are going to kind of change things around, Lydia. So I think we may have to bring up the two participants early on for time's sake. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and I will pick up from there. Just hold on a second. And I'm sharing my screen. And the ultimate question we always ask, can you all see my screen? Beautiful. So this is a very interesting topic. Good. Thank you very much. This is a very interesting topic. Nice to meet everyone. This is my second time on PATF. I did something with Elaine in a few months back for the South Africa Bootcamp. So I'm very excited to be in West Africa. You know, I'm from Nigeria. So let's start. So how to succeed at entrepreneurship and innovation in West Africa or anywhere? Well, unfortunately, I'm going to start with this. We're already structured to fail from the start. And this is the problem that we all face in Africa because we don't have the right metrics or the right, I don't want to call it opportunities, but everything has just been structured to fail. How do we challenge failure? That is what I really want to talk about. But first, I'll start by a quick introduction of who I am. I know that an introduction was done, but just a little bit more about me. I finished or studied journalism at the University of Lagos. And after finishing school or before finishing school, started out as a web developer in a web development company. Started my first company, which was a web design company, which I ran for 4 years before moving into the telecom space, where I was involved with building the first kind of very cool technology called WiMAX in Abuja, Nigeria, which was the first time it was being deployed in West Africa. Then after that, I moved back into entrepreneurship with two co-founders to build an app development company. That was between 2007 and 2012. Then business failed again, and I went to work in an investment company where I oversaw different investments worth over $20 million in different sectors from fast-moving consumer goods, pharmaceutical, property, oil, and gas. It was my job to set up those businesses. And after that, I left to join a technology village where we built a tech incubator. That was in 2019 that I started that. And more than 400 individuals have gone through the various programs there. And while I was there for between 2019 and this year, I oversaw about 30 startups that went through the program. And finally, I'm now the CEO of Delali.com. Delali is an income and expense management tool for small businesses. And there's a connection to this story, so I'll just quickly go forward. The whole idea of Delali is to help businesses record their income, expenses, reports, generate inventory, because there are several inefficiencies that most businesses face. Now, interestingly, when I started out, and all the companies I've worked for, most of them always suffered these key problems. And that was why a lot of businesses had problems in growing and succeeding. Now, I will ask that Dolapo and Oloba should be brought up. If you can unmute yourselves, let's do a quick intro before I now go through my slides in full. So, Lydia, would you like to do an intro of Dolapo?
So, Dolapo Sanusi, she's Ola Fellow. Ola is a fellow of Chartered Institute Management Accountants. She holds an MBA from Imperial College, London, and Masters, Investments, Treasury, and Banking from Dublin City University, Ireland. Dolapo has 17 years professional in finance across different industries, including management, consulting, technology, hospitality, construction, manufacturing, agriculture, banking, and insurance. Wow. Dolapo also has corporate leadership experience where she has focused on growth and strategy for SMEs. She has spent over the last 10 years mentoring and coaching women within both the corporate sector and in entrepreneurship. She's also the co-founder for Nest. Dolapo, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, they are discussing two of them.
Yes. And Oluwa Joba. I hope I got the pronunciation right.
Okay.
Perfectly.
Yeah, so we have Oluwa Joba Oloba. She's a Pan-African Tech Foundation in Nigeria. He's a lawyer, a business analyst, and a program coordinator for various social impact projects. His prior entrepreneurial journey spans several sectors, including technology, content, education, legal, tech, regulatory relations, research, and real estate. He is currently a co-founder at a technology innovation hub in Nigeria called The Nest. The Nest is a leading innovation center that provides founder-conducive workspaces with the opportunity to get mentorship and direct access to investors. So, Dolapo and Oluwajoba, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Lida, and guys, welcome. It's an honor to be in the same room with you guys. So I will start by first what I call the 5 Ps, which is perfect planning prevents pathetic performance. All right, and the topic for today is how to succeed in entrepreneurship and innovation, and I think the best point or place to start from is about planning, right? One of the difficulties or one of the huge challenges that we face is that when we're planning or when we come up with an idea for a business, and I've seen this over the years, I'm sure Dolapo will support me here. Sometimes when we're coming up with ideas, we just see someone hawking something and say, the way that thing is selling, if I should sell 10 like that every day, I'll be able to make 100 naira profit. That's 1K. Before you know it, I can sell 1 million because there are 200 million Nigerians and almost 400 million West Africans or so. So this business is going to work. And without any thinking, you just go and buy the item and you come and start selling it without thinking through everything. But before you know it, you are running a business, in quotes. and after a year or 2 years, the business fails. So this is one of the challenges that we face. So Dolapo, you are a finance expert. Is any of this true in terms of perfect planning prevents pathetic performance?
I think it's a kind of like a double-edged sword. I don't think there's something as perfect planning. So that's the first thing. But I think the one thing I would say is, and it's not only business owners that gets it wrong from a Nigerian point of view because of population, right? Even investors, like foreign investors, have gotten it wrong because the pitch that is normally sold to them is the amount of people that we have in Nigeria and how that is. So you're looking at demand, basically. But what a lot of people tend to forget is when you look at the demand that we have in Nigeria from a population point of view. Now, how many of them can really afford the product or the service that you really want to sell to them? Also, I suppose another thing is sometimes people look at the competition, but don't look at the substitution, which is the most common one. So you might look at it and say, okay, fine. I want to go into, let's say, sugar business, right? I'm competing with the Dangote. But then you're forgetting that the people selling honey and the people selling it are also a substitution. So when you're looking at your price point as well, you have to look at the price point of your, like, the products that can basically be used as a substitution product, basically. So the problem with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business people, and obviously, like you said, you hit the nail on the head, which is the fact that people look at what they think is moving and decide to go into that business without actually calculating what is even the profit margin on that product in the first place. They also underestimate, I think, the capacity of what capital can actually do. So you could see somebody who's selling a product, but that person has a lot more capital outlay than you who's going into the business for the first time. That means that that person can decide to sell at a price that reduces their profit margin because they have the money to do the volume that would still give them and that would still make the business successful. So with a lot of entrepreneurs is there's no such thing as perfect planning, but I think it's the lack of planning that is actually the biggest problem. And when people actually say they're planning, they're actually not planning. And I always say this to people, and I think I'm beginning to sound like a broken record with a lot of people, is I don't want to see your business plan on paper. I want to see your financial plan. Forget business plan. We cannot pull a business plan together in terms of writing a Word document and all that kind of stuff that they've told entrepreneurs to do, which I always say, Jim, your business plan is also a working document, a life document. It will forever change because the market will teach you otherwise. I want to see your financial plan. What are your numbers? Stop putting in numbers that, there are 200 million Nigerians. Yeah, there are 200 million Nigerians. How many of those people are adults? How many of those people have the purchasing power to actually buy your product? How many of them actually even understand the service that you're trying to sell? It's the same thing with technology. As much as we know that technology is going to enhance the lives of Africans or the lives of Nigerians, you have to first of all get through the issue of somebody has a mobile phone that can download the app, that can use the technology, or somebody can actually pay for data or can pay for airtime. A lot of people can't even afford to pay for airtime. A lot of people can't afford to pay for data. So really, what are we building? And that brings me back to the whole, you see a solution that is working in Europe or in the States, and then you want to copy and paste it into Africa. That's not going to work. We have to build African technology for Africa. So when you're doing your planning, those are all the kind of things that you kind of have to take into consideration, which is understanding the environment in which you're actually going into, and then understanding the mindset of the people and the purchasing power of that people, and all that has to come into planning. So I think it's what's the beginning of perfect planning.
I'm going to jump in here for a second and say, first of all, you've again, not to sound like a cliche, hitting the nail on the head, which is the environmental factor. Like, you need to take into consideration every reality of our environment. So, Joba, tell me, you guys started Nest Africa, and just tell me about what did you go through in terms of building up this idea and starting out?
Everything's spot on because, again, to be honest, there's nothing like over planning, or like I was saying, as much as possible. Like, we tell a lot of this, and I think Dolapo has already touched on a lot of that. It's not every time that the lifestyle of the way people are doing something. You just want to bring in technology to just reflip it. Sometimes it's always much, more difficult than that. And from our own experience, also with the Nest wasn't our first business. To be very honest, our first business, which was launched in 2013, was an online learning platform, tutor.ng, which failed woefully. And I'm happy we started it and it failed because it actually taught us a lot of things, a lot of assumptions, a lot of things we just felt like easily we could do. The greatest hindrance to that was technology and internet availability as at that time. It was a good product, but it was a product ahead of its time. So internet was not readily available in Nigeria, and we're building a product for people to go online. So in retrospect, if I had the opportunity to push the product, I probably would have killed the product because again, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. And that's why we started Nest. So that we need to create an enabling environment for entrepreneurs and startups to give them a bit of hand holding, a bit of direction, and a bit of support so that when they start from the scratch, they have an idea, but it's not every time your idea is just going to leap and become the unicorn. So there's a process, and definitely someone must actually go through that process in helping them build the idea. Like, Dolapo rightly said, we can see gazillions of business proposals, and, that's what we're saying. But at the end of the day, data never lies. Data is the most important thing. You're building a product for a country where the earning power is, less than $100. So how do you want to do a subscription of like $50 monthly for the bulk of people can? Those are the key areas, that we've understood that people really need help with, and those are the kind of problems we're trying to solve.
Beautiful. So I'm going to jump very quickly because of time into execution, right? Because the first stage is planning, right? And there's no such thing as perfect planning. In my experience in the startup world now, you have sort of like a general plan, which you need to keep revisiting and sort of adjusting as you go, because the realities of the market will hit you. So, for example, when we started Delali last year, when we were planning, we said, we're going to hit like 600 paying subscribers in the next 2 months, right? 1 year down the line, we're still struggling to hit 100 paying users, for example, because the reality on ground is different, and that brings me to the issue of execution. How do you execute your plan? I mean, there are examples like other startups. You mentioned timing, and I'm going to jump to that later. But they say that it's all in the execution. From what I listened to a podcast yesterday, and there was something very interesting someone said. He said that there's this saying that everything is in the execution. I think and he said something I agree with, which is not everything is in the execution. There are several factors that make up that perfect execution. You may not be the best executor, right? Or you may not be the best planner, but certain things need to fall into place to make sure that execution is effective. So Dolapo, execution. You've seen businesses, and my favorite part is when we bring business plans that are like 60 pages long and with a lot of English and strategies and this and that and that. That is on paper. Then there's a reality. Then there's execution. There's government coming up with a policy today, or Africa free trade coming up, or West Africa saying this, or a coup in another country, and all sorts of things that happen, right? That was never envisaged in the plan, right? So how have you seen, and how can a business owner or an entrepreneur, anyone that's listening here is thinking about jumping into this entrepreneurship boat, how important is execution?
So, like you rightly said, execution is in different phases, and I think I'll use our story at Nest as an example. I think one of the things I would say to entrepreneurs is you have to be ready to adapt very quickly. you have to be able to let go of how you feel. So as much as you get emotionally invested in our startups or in whatever business you're working at, when the market is telling you otherwise, you need to be ready to like adapt to what the market is saying. And then basically, so because we've gone through the whole, so when we started out, before we became Nest Investment Limited, it was, for me, it was a passion that I had for financial inclusion and women and all that kind of stuff, basically. And we started out as, okay, we wanted to be a savings platform and then credit, right? And then we had a partnership with EcoBank. And then EcoBank had their own internal issues which kind of affected our own partnership. So for like a year and a half, we were actually in limbo because EcoBank, even though they assigned a partnership with us because we built a tech which was going to drive financial inclusion and all that kind of stuff, they had internal issues. And that went on for like 18 to 24 months. So that means that we were in limbo. So very quickly, we had to start looking at what are the other ways. Then we decided we wanted to get a microfinance bank's license. Then we got caught in the whole Nigeria CBN revising the capital requirement for microfinance license up. We had already submitted our application, then all that kind of stuff. We had a consultant. We lost all of that money, if that makes sense. But then over the course of those maybe 3 years, we found out that a lot of our lending or a lot of the people that we're helping were farmers within the agri sector in the north. So we quickly pivoted, and what we have now is a combination of fintech and agri-tech. So the truth about it is, even if you have an execution plan that you think is going to work, like we had regulatory covered, we had that covered, we had how we're going to scale covered and everything, and all of that, the Nigerian market quickly told us that you guys were jokers. Those were factors that were out of our control. So we went from having a bank partnership to applying for a microfinance license, then eventually to getting a cooperative license, but then focusing on the agri-tech sector. So when it comes to execution, you can have an execution plan. It's good to have an execution plan, but you can't ignore what the market is telling you, because if you ignore what the market is telling you, then you're going to fail. And then COVID hit us in the middle of that as well. So before COVID, we used to lend to different sectors, but with COVID, we've kind of niched down to the whole value chain across the agri sector. So we are actually controlling from input right across to output from an agri-tech and a fintech point of view, which is what our new model kind of looks like, basically.
So just to jump in here, first of all, I think we will we'll have to talk after this and see how we can collaborate on Delali and see how you can support us in growing and moving very quickly. So Joba
is fine.
Joba, okay, Olua Joba, I'll get it. All right. So my question is this: you mentioned something about timing, right? And everyone says that timing is important. You talked about your previous project, and just very quickly, when we talk about timing, a perfect example is the various gaps in the markets that we see. So, for example, COVID happened, right? And all of a sudden, education became a very important thing for everyone, especially online education, right? How I know you touched on it, but how important is it that you may have the perfect plan, you may have the right team, but you may be coming to the market at the right time? How do you, and no one knows what the right time is, really. How do you figure out, based on your experience now, about the time?
Oh, okay. You've asked me a very difficult question. And again, I've used my life, I've used my life to actually disprove or ascertain or clear that. But the truth is this. There are things that you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur to plan, to prepare. It's like project finance, to spot the risk and do everything you can to mitigate the risk. But again, there's a place, and I understand this like a very diverse platform, people with different beliefs, different understanding. I'm a Christian by background, and I understand there's a place of divine movement and divine intervention. And there's also this concept I believe in called synchronicity, which it means meaningful occurrences. So I don't believe anything happens by mistake, right? So for an entrepreneur, the most important thing you should do is plan and be ready to activate. be ready to execute. Because while being on it, you find out that there are some other things that are going to jump out at you, where you're able to now devise the next stage of problems that you want to solve. I call them that they are good problems. So, for instance, we have a lounge in our facility, and while we, just developed the lounge to prepare for maybe, let's say, 50 people, the first day, maybe like 70 people eat. Then the manager started running helter skelter. But for me, that was a good problem, because immediately it's telling me the kind of, audience I'm actually, attending to, the kind of things I need to put, the kind of measures I need to put in place to make sure next time the same occurrence doesn't happen. The kind of crowd I also need to serve, and what are their earning capabilities. Do you understand? So timing, I believe if you want to do anything, just go ahead to do it. That's the truth, because you always learn while doing it. The same thing happened, for while we were at Tutor. The same thing is happening for the next. The same thing is going to happen. And the next second thing I'm going to say is like, ideas are like waves. The minute it's eating you, it's eating another person. So if you were waiting for the perfect time to have the perfect model, to have the perfect execution, to have the perfect investors, then you may actually never go to market. So, and most times, what we have seen with the products that are within the system is like, before investors put their skin in the game, they want to know how much you are also committed into believing whatever you are actually coming to pitch to them. So don't come and give me a business idea that, you want to use all my money to implement. How much of your own sweat, how much of your own money has gone into it? So if you believe in it so much for you to put your money into it, then you are telling me there's also something in it. So for me, the time, you want to implement is always now. Yeah.
Beautiful answer. Just start. Now, if anyone is anyone in the audience, you can please post questions and we'll be happy to answer them. Or in the meantime, I'll just like to do a quick survey of everyone by way of thumbs ups or claps. So, for example, are you all, I've not told you to start clapping yet now. I'm already seeing the claps going. Okay, calm down. So, I want to know here, Dolako, please help me here. How many people, let's see, thumbs up, how many people are planning to start a business or are, about to start a business? Any thumbs up here? Okay, one. Yes, as I can say, clap. Yes. How many people? Let's see by which other emojis are there. Maybe a smiley emoji. No, is there any frowning emoji for anyone? Let me check the emojis. Okay. The emojis with shades. Anyone that is in business right now and is going through a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress in the house. So that's quite interesting. And it's good to know. And again, structure. Dolapo. Structure. Right? What is the right structure? I mean, for business, especially starting out. I'm not even thinking of, everyone thinks that they need to be structured like Microsoft or like GE or one of those big companies. No, I'm talking about you're starting for the first time, or not necessarily the first time, but you're starting a business. It's only you. Usually it starts with either you or a co-founder or in different situations. But that very beginning, one of the biggest challenges that I had with, not that I had with my first business, but I had with when I engaged with clients was structure. Most of them would say, I'm the only one doing the business. I don't need to know, I shall know how much has entered my bank account, right? I don't need to issue an invoice. I don't need to keep records. I will do that when the business grows. How important is structure, especially at the beginning, when probably you're the only one or two of you that own the business or three of you that own the business are the only ones at that point and you don't have any employees?
Okay, I think I had the benefits of working in the corporate world for a long time before actually going into entrepreneurship. So sometimes when I look at myself, I work with a lot of startups and a lot of business owners. I've learned that a lot of them don't have the proper structures in place, but obviously I have the benefit of hindsight just because of the kind of companies that I've worked through. I work in small companies, medium companies, and then large corporations. Now, what I always tell people that come to me is structure is important from the beginning, basically. And when I mean structure, there are different kind of structures. So people would come to me and I'd be like, look, so let's use a very simple example. From the day one, open a bank account for your business, right? Make sure whatever you're
Separate from
spending
your
on
personal
your
account,
business.
correct?
Sorry?
Just to clarify. Separate from your personal
Yeah,
account.
open a bank account for your business or business account, right? Make sure that whatever you're spending on the business is going through that bank account. Like even if you're putting your personal money into the bank account, I always advise move the personal money into your business bank account and then spend from there. Now that helps you to keep proper records. So even if you are not Excel savvy, which is always the problem with a lot of people, the fact that everything has gone through your bank account is easy for you to track, even when an accountant comes in, basically. So you're putting that structure in place. That's one. When we look at it from record keeping, which is one of the biggest issues that a lot of business owners kind of have. Two, I always tell them the web, www.google has become our best friend. If you need to start invoicing, there are 1,000,001 invoicing templates that you can use, that you can download online.
Dilali is there. That's what Dilali does, and it's free. So,
so imagine. So, do you understand? So, as in for me, I'm like, so you can put structure in place without actually spending money for structure. If you're trying to sign on a client or you're working with a client, they don't see the structure that you've put behind, but it's now up to you to put the proper structure in place. Use Microsoft Office tools to your advantage to put in the proper structure. Have a template for your letters. Have a template. Like there's so much that you can do with the tools, even the free tools that we have available for us. So put a structure in place. When it comes to you're a two-man business owner, both of you have to be hands-on, right? I always tell people that titles are really for when you're dealing with the outside world, but when it comes to actually operating the business, all the founders, I personally believe, have to be hands-on. You have to know every aspect of the business. The reason being that when you're co-founding your business, it's always sweet in the beginning. You never know who's going to end up leaving. So because of that, you don't put yourself in a position where one person is leaving the business, you still want to continue the business, and then that person leaves with a lot of the knowledge. Depending on how you leave, and even if you guys leave on good terms, that person goes on to become really, really busy. That business is no longer that person's priority. So getting information out of that person, getting contact out of that person becomes very difficult. So put a structure in place, even if it's a Word document, all your contacts, your client contacts, write it there. Like so there's a lot that you can actually do in terms of structure, like little things that helps the business as you get bigger. Now, if you don't put structure in place from the beginning, you're going to have a problem as it gets bigger. There's no two ways about it, and you cannot win. One of the things when we raised Impact Investing there last year, one of the things that they said to us was the fact that we had audited accounts from the beginning. So it didn't matter whether we were making a loss. I made sure that we had audited accounts from the beginning. And the woman was like, this is the first time, and she's not talking about dealing with somebody in Africa. She's even talking across board because she's invested across the world, that they've met a founder that has everything they asked for. We had it. We had a data room from the beginning. So it is going out there to see if I want to scale my business, if I want to grow my business, what is the structure that I need to put in place now? I mean, even now, even when it comes to like personnel in all our departments, there are process documentation. I don't care. You need to have a process documentation, even for the littlest thing. So if you up and leave, which is always, I mean, people have to grow, and you want to leave, somebody can step in and do what? And take over the business. Now, even for you as a co-founder, we've set up our business in such a way that the guys, so the co-founders, which is really directors, because there's a lot of strategic issues that we have to deal with, like raising capital, going for meetings and stuff like that. We are never really on the field anymore. We're not on ground, but the business can run without us. And which brings me back to the fact why there's very few legacy businesses in Africa. Just because we don't have that structure. The business is built around the founder, around the owner. So when the founder dies or something happens to the founder, then the business cannot continue. And that is where we are constantly stuck in this whole poverty cycle, because we can't leave a legacy behind for people to take over and people to continue to grow the business just because there is no proper structure in place. So for me, structure is really, really important, but you have to really look at your business and say, okay, what kind of structures do I need? And there are a lot of free tools out there. I mean, the work that Diwali is doing, there's a lot of business mentorship that goes on out there. I think it's entrepreneurs beginning to ask the right questions and knowing that the success of your business structure plays a very big part. Like it's not just a good to have, it is actually a need to have. And I think the moment we start understanding that, I think the better for us. And the time to put in structure is actually at the beginning before you get busy, before you get bogged down by a lot of things. Because as the business grows, structure becomes really difficult to put in, to be honest.
I know that we will not have enough time to talk about everything, but first of all, Elaine and PATF team, thank you for bringing us together. It's as if we actually rehearsed this whole session before jumping in, because I'm going to jump into the next thing, and Dolapo she just says the next as if she has seen my slides, which she hasn't. But before I jump there, Oluwajoba, you are a lawyer. Right? And if there's one thing they always say, that all lawyers are going to hell, maybe except you. But that's the usual saying about lawyers, and that's how everyone feels about lawyers and accountants. And I think there's one other lawyers, accountants, and makeup artists, right? they say that thing about them. But my question to you, again, I think I need to spend a little more time on this structural issue, right? At the beginning, you guys were starting, you had co-founders. Dolapo has mentioned things like there's some co-founders that may leave and things like that. What is the importance of legal structuring in a business, especially when starting out?
Okay. I'm going to say something that will stay on this platform, right?
It's recorded.
Agreements are a worthless piece of paper if the mind and the zeal and the trust of running and being together in a business is not there. But again, that worthless piece of paper may be the lifesaver of all your efforts, of your stress and everything you put in the business. When you have it, on the day that it's quite important. So from a legal point of view, I can't stress it enough. It is extremely important to have proper legal documentation in place when starting out. Luckily, in Nigeria now, and I want to believe in as many other countries, it's easy for you to just sit behind your computer and register a company, have directors, have shareholding structure based on how much money people have actually put into the business. So I know people in Nigeria have this habit of, someone sits down, likes your idea, listens to the idea, then next thing you shell out equity to the person. But as much as possible, these equities, they're actually things that people are supposed to pay for to be part of the business. You are supposed to use that fund to run, the business. And based on their contribution, that's what you're actually supposed to shell out. That's for another that's for another class, anyways. But it's quite important. Then after that stage, when that is done, even among co-founders, you need to have the co-founder agreement. What is the responsibility of each person coming to the table? I don't believe in, winging it. So it's because, again, people can start the business, then be chasing side also, while you are sweating it out, running and, doing. And they can just pull out on a normal day and say that, they've put in a lot and, they want you to buy them out. But when you have agreements in place, rules and responsibilities, what each person is supposed to bring to the table is already spelled out. There are a lot of ways to actually keep people committed. There are vesting laws, there are, share pool for, staff. Of course, these are things that I will advise you speak with a lawyer who is knowledgeable, in tech, or, in dealing with startups. There are quite a number of things like that, running in Nigeria, like a simple Google search, can reveal that. And I understand that's why we have, a platform like, PATF. So you can easily reach out to Elaine or, the information email. And I know she'll be happy to support, putting those structures in place, having everything, well documented, I think is going to go a long way. And like also Dolapo, it's like Dolapo is the owner of this session. Like she has said, like she has rightly said, a lot of these things are not needed for the day you are going to need it. But building the habit of, keeping it and making it tidy makes you look like a serious businessman, like, you don't have or running helter-skelter on the day you need it. Last point before I jump off. So I've seen instances where people have fantastic ideas and they've been careless. And one of the co-founders actually went ahead to register the patent and the trademark in his own name. Do you understand? What that means that they could not submit that as an asset of the company, but be paying license to the individual when the person decided to pull out. So these are the little areas that, as an entrepreneur, you can't just overlook. You need to read in between the lines to understand the nitty-gritty of everything you are getting into. Thank you.
Perfect. So just to recap for everyone, this is you see, when you're doing something that you're enjoying so much, you lose track of time, and I'm trying to keep to time. But just to recap, if everyone can recall our very first slide, right? That's after the introduction. What did I say? Structure to fail, right? And already we're so used to this thing in Africa, and it's also all over the world. But we just shake hands on things and just say, all this legal talk is just noise, because it will take X number of years in court, or it will have this it won't have it. We know people, so nothing will happen. But the truth of the matter is that when structuring is extremely important, and we can't overemphasize that. That is actually one of the main building blocks to that thing called execution. And I'll pick up from where Dolapo left off. And also, Joba, you're also part of this conversation, because the next slide is what you just said. So I don't know how you guys have this sixth sense to just understand my slides. So it's something new. Now, team, right? Hiring one person can make or break your business. Maybe it's even the so-called customer service personnel. Hello, yes, no, I can't help you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. You don't even know if that person, the customer service representative is speaking to, is going to bring 80% of your revenue, right? And team is extremely important, as in, how do you find the right team members or right hires to join you? Culture. How do you identify? It's not just about, okay, this person is the cheapest person, that's why I'm going to take them. How does that person's vision or character align with your culture, your goals, and more? Then, there are a lot of good people out there, but finding them is very, very difficult. So, Dolapo, many years of experience, several businesses that you've interacted with. Why is team important to the success of any innovative business or entrepreneur?
Okay, Dolapo and Ibrahim, do excuse me. This thing is so riveting. I hate to be the party pooper. We have about another 5 minutes. Can we wrap up in about 5?
Yes, we can.
Let's go right on.
So, Dolapo, rapid answer.
I think a team can make or break your business, to be honest. And I think when you're giving out contracts, especially as a startup, it is good to give short-term contracts and put some kind of caveats to, just so that you can let people go if the person is not a good fit for the business. We've learned to be very open and explain that, okay, we're in a startup, so anything can kind of happen. We don't even know where we're going. We need people that can pivot. I had a customer service person that used to come to the office and just sleep, to be honest, sleep. So, and then in December, we had to let her go. I was like, no, this is not going to work, basically. And I hired a finance person who was an economics graduate, but at the interview, I felt that she had a brain, so she could apply compared to, even we had finance graduates that were coming from KPMG. But the basic questions they could not understand. She's been with the company for 4 years and she's grown through the ranks. So it's been able to ascertain what your business needs beyond the degrees on the paper. And I think when you're interviewing, using competency-based questions can actually help as well.
So Google is your friend. Competency-based questions. I'm going to Google that too. So you can see we don't have all the answers. Jobber, focus. Most times I start a business, I'm doing this thing, I now hear there's one contract or one opportunity here, I jump to it. Why is focus important?
So as straightforward as possible. For me, I think there are a lot of opportunities in the world. But again, limit and narrowing on Pareto principle, understanding the most important part of the business and doing it so well that everybody can, give their money to you. I think we need to actually understand that, in this part of Africa. If you want to be a consulting firm, one fits all, then be a consulting firm. But if you want to be a service provider, focus on the service and do it so well that everybody can, just remember you and imagine you to be, the best service in the industry. Yeah.
So very quick question on Nest. Is that the only thing you're doing? Is it 100% focus? Have you just set your time and 100% your 9 to 5 is Nest?
As a co-founder at the Nest, I am also co-founder in a couple of other businesses. But the time allotted to the Nest, the period I'm working on the Nest, it's dedicated to the Nest. It's interesting that my company and Dolapo's company have shared the same name. Yeah. And I thought, okay. I won't say anything.
Again,
that's how it is. We have a team focused on that. If you call them today, we have a department. Everybody understands the responsibility, and that's how it is. Yeah.
Collaboration. Why is collaboration important? Most of us, we had this conversation earlier, Joba. So most of us, we work in silos, and I'm working on something. It's the next big thing. I don't want anyone to know. I see this person as my competition. I don't want to collaborate with anyone. Why is collaboration important? And can you share any experience, both of you, regarding collaboration? We'll start with Joba, then jump to Dolapo.
Okay. For me, collaboration is what is going to make Africa scale at a speed that we never understand. We are used to doing small, but I think it's time to see the problem as a general problem, a communal one, and we build something big enough that can compete, internationally. What we are doing at the moment, so we are a TISC center in Lagos by World Intellectual Property Organization. And for us, we're just like, hey, why not? We're bringing like 4 other hubs, to have events to help everybody instead of, I don't need to take the glory, the ecosystem can get from me. And I think for entrepreneurs, we need to share the same approach to every problem we're solving. The world is big, the sky is big enough for everybody to thrive. And I think everybody needs to, have that mindset of abundance here.
Great. Dolapo?
Actually, we survive on collaboration as a company, to be honest, because we can't actually exist without collaboration. So one of the things that have actually helped us is collaborating. Recently, we signed a collaboration agreement with an asset management firm in Lagos. So obviously, they have access to funds. We invest across the value chain. So they're coming in that way. So they want to do a huge community CSR project where they empower cassava growers. We are collaborating with that. We have the agri knowledge. We have all of that, and they're coming in. So for us, collaboration has been one thing that has actually helped us scale a lot quicker, to be honest. And we have at least our asset under management is over $1 billion, but we couldn't have done it without collaboration.
So we're coming to you to collaborate and Oluwajoba to collaborate. I'm going to stop here because of time. I know Tete is keeping to time, and that's one thing we need to do in Africa. So thank you guys for making this an amazing session. Thank everyone that's watching. Please put a thumbs up for these amazing people that are doing really great things, including myself, that I'm doing also great things, hopefully to do greater things. And I am sure that this conversation will always continue. So thank you very much. Tete, over to you.
That was absolutely fantastic, folks. Let's give them a really big hand. I mean, they've been through absolutely everything we need to hear. We've even met a lawyer we can all learn to love. And thank you so much, Ibrahim Bashir, Oluwajoba, Oloba, and Dolapo Sanusi Ola. Thank you very, very much indeed. Those of you who have got screenshots of this conversation are please welcome to follow Pan-African Tech Foundation. The Twitter handle is in the chat, and also tweet what you have under hashtag PATF That's Pan-African Tech Foundation Bootcamp. Ibrahim Oluwajoba Delapo, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much indeed